Hello.
Oh, only joking. I mean, would you really go and see a therapist, particularly a hypnotherapist who looked all miserable? No, you wouldn't, would you? And the point of what we're going to be talking about today is that you need to be a therapist at all times. So even when you're not in the therapy room, you need to think about who might be looking at you and who might be judging you based on your outer appearance. I mean, we're all familiar with when a client comes to the door, we welcome them really professionally. We have that very professional rapport within the therapy room and right up until the time they leave. But don't forget that when you're out and about in the supermarket or just walking down the street, people will be noticing you. And this is really, really important.
Indeed. And it's things like, you can be walking into a supermarket feeling really, but just imagine that a client's there with their husband, wife, mother, daughter, friend, and they say, oh, that's my masseur, my chiropractor, my hypnotherapist, whatever it is, and you're looking as though you have got that weight of the world on your shoulders. Are they going to want to come and see you to offload or have, a relaxing experience or to get fixed if you don't look as though you can fix yourself?
Yeah, and it's amazing. But this also extends to other areas, not just about the way you look, but also things like how your phone is answered.
Oh, indeed.
Absolutely, because if you've got an unprofessional message on your answer phone, maybe you've got your home line answer phone, which might be a bit jokey, that might not be appropriate for a troubled client who might be ringing you up. And also think about when you're not there, who is going to be answering the phone on your behalf, and are they worthy?
Indeed. I mean, where I originally trained, they had an amazing, it was very, very good what they did. Our first session there, they gave us homework to go home and phone 3 other hypnotherapists in our locality and ask for a brochure. Now, they were very clever here because what you immediately did was you were put in the position of the client. And so I went home and Julie did my homework because I'm good like that. And one of the phone calls, I had a chap answer the phone and just go, hello. Now, it sort of like stops you in your tracks a bit, because if you're, say, for instance, a client with anxiety, suffering anxiety, are you going to want to go to somebody who's on the phone to you? No. And this was apparently quite a nice lady, female hypnotherapist whose husband had just answered it while watching football or what have you, and just wasn't in the right mindset. And therefore that first impression is so important. And so therefore I went back thinking, right, okay, none of my family can now answer the telephone. But all it was is we actually had a separate landline put in that was for my business. So, or you can even get potentially a different ring on your phone, etc. But that first impression is just so important.
Yeah, and I think if you are working from home, if you've got therapy rooms at home, do think about that as well. I mean, it goes without saying that the therapy room itself will obviously, you'll make it look the best that you possibly can, but also think about the approach to the therapy room. So make sure that the drive and the garden is weed free. If somebody has to go through the house to get to your therapy room, of course all that needs to look professional as well, and obviously you've got to kind of make sure that the laundry is well catered for.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, I live in a village which, although it's beautiful and it's lovely, I don't think anybody would be able to find me. And also I have two dogs, one who's beautifully behaved, the other one not so much so. So I wouldn't want to take that risk. So the decision was almost made for me, and I went to a clinic. But I've got a colleague who actually has a lovely setup, a beautiful conservatory. There's a lovely separate entrance via a gate, which she's got a nice plaque saying about her business there. And the whole thing's set up and it works very, very well. So there are options that you need to consider here, and it's all part of that, how you want to portray yourself.
Yeah, funny enough, talking about living in a more rural area, if you live in a more rural area, you soon discover that your car gets dirtier rather more quickly than if you live in a city or a town. And this is an important little tip really, because if you're driving around in a mud-spattered car, people might well judge you on that. judge, especially if you've got a client who might be hung up about things like cleanliness and so on. So I'm not saying you have to have a brand spanking new car. It doesn't matter the age of the car, but it does need to look reasonably presentable.
Yes, indeed. And we're not saying, tie yourself up in a straitjacket, but this is where you need to consider your business. There's just certain aspects. We've seen so many therapists go out of business, and not because they're bad therapists, it's just they're not understanding the whole arena that you have to think about. And so therefore, you go out, you are the brand, you are your business. You just have to be a little bit more careful. Now, if you're only just doing this as a part-time thing or an elevated hobby, you can be maybe a little bit more relaxed about it. But if you want to get the maximum number of clients, you have to consider that, some people will be more particular about certain things that you necessarily wouldn't be. This is where everybody's different, and you just have to be a little bit more careful about it. So it's okay if you're working for, in an office and you're just, one of a number, and you don't have to portray yourself any different to the natural, normal you as you go out. Now, we're not saying do this 24/7, don't get us wrong, but you just have to be more aware of it and just think, now, okay, what should I need to change and what do I need to portray?
Absolutely. Think of Kenneth Branagh in the opening ceremony of the Olympics,
Yeah.
when he was absolutely, completely and utterly in character for, 45 minutes or an hour. He never broke character. And it's a bit like when you go to those working mill museums where they get troops of actors, pretending to be mill workers. They live the part the whole time.
It's amazing.
And it's a bit like us as therapists, that we kind of have to live that part within reason. I mean, we want you to enjoy the whole thing, but just bear in mind that when you're out and about, people will be judging how effective your therapy is on how you are coming across.
Yeah, and when you're referring to actors and actresses, I mean, I can recall when I was just a Saturday girl, when I was, in my teens, and there was a couple of actors and actresses who used to live in the locality, and on TV I thought, oh, they're really good. And then they came into the shop I was working in, and they looked so tatty, and they looked, more importantly, so miserable, and my whole perception of them just changed in an instant. And this was an impressionable 16-year-old, I recognise that. But if you're any type of therapist, you've got to bear in mind that your potential audience is walking up and down that street the other way. And this is where sometimes I'll say to my clients, in order to feel happier, hold your head up higher. It will have, an influence on your body and your mind if you're walking along with your head higher, and makes you feel good about yourself. And so after directly saying this to a client, I found myself walking up the street and just deep in thought, looking down, and suddenly I thought, oh, I need to, and below me there's that client coming towards me. So you never know what's going to happen next.
Absolutely. So if you take one message away from today, and that's just to think about how you're portraying yourself outside of the therapy room.
It all helps.
Good luck.
Bye.